Good evening, and welcome to Calm Sleep Documentaries. Tonight, our journey takes us into the heart of one of nature's most ancient and powerful rhythms, the Great Migrations. You will travel on the wings of birds across continents, walk with herds on endless plains, and swim with giants in the deep blue. It is a landscape of profound beauty, but one that demands a resilience few of us could imagine today. This is the story of movement, guided by instincts written into the very code of life. Before our exploration begins, if you appreciate the care that goes into these documentaries, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It allows us to continue creating this content for you. We also invite you to share your city or country in the comments to see where in the world our viewers are settling in from tonight. Now, find a comfortable position, dim the lights, and allow the world outside to fade away as we begin. You stand on a wide, grassy plain. The air is cool and carries the scent of rain from a distant storm. Above you, the sky is not empty. It is filled with the faint, echoing calls of geese, a sound that seems to pull at something deep within you. You see them, a long, wavering V-shape, like a dark stitch drawn across the fading canvas of the sky. They are leaving. You do not know where they are going, but you feel the certainty of their purpose. This is the call to move, an ancient signal that has been answered for millions of years. This instinct does not wake up suddenly. It is a slow, gathering force. For the Arctic tern, it is the gradual shortening of the days in the north. For the monarch butterfly, it is the changing angle of the sunlight. For the wildebeest of the Serengeti, it is the distant smell of water on the dry wind. These are the quiet whispers that the entire animal world understands. The world is about to change, and to survive, you must change your place in it. You look at a single sandpiper on a muddy shore. It has been feeding here for weeks, building its strength, almost without knowing why. Then, one evening, it becomes restless. It flicks its wings. It calls out, and its call is answered by another, and then another. This restlessness is a biological clock ticking down to zero. Scientists call it Zugunruhe, a German word meaning migratory restlessness. It is a state of being that captivates the bird, a deep-seated need to travel that is as fundamental as hunger or thirst. What does that feeling look like? You see it in the gathering of the swallows on telephone wires, turning them into living musical staves. You see it in the caribou, who begin to mill and shift, their hooves stirring the earth with a nervous energy. The herd is no longer a group of individuals. It becomes a single entity, a fluid body ready to flow across the land. The decision to leave is not a thought. It is a compulsion written in the stars and the seasons. Consider the humble garden warbler, a small brown bird you might not notice. It spends its summers in Europe, but as summer ends, it does something extraordinary. It begins to eat. It eats almost constantly, feasting on berries until it becomes a different creature. Its body changes, storing fat not just in its belly, but in muscles and even its skin. Its digestive organs grow larger to process the food, while its other organs, the ones not needed for flight, actually shrink. It is preparing for a non-stop flight across the Sahara Desert. How this small bird knows the immense challenge that lies ahead is one of nature's gentle mysteries. This is the core piece of knowledge that starts every great journey, the signal. It is always an external change, a temperature drop, a food shortage, a genetic memory of breeding grounds. The animal responds without question. It is a reminder that we are all connected to the world in deep and silent ways. The planet turns, and life turns with it. You watch a sea turtle, newly hatched, scramble from its sandy nest on a moonlit beach. It has never seen the ocean, yet it scrambles directly toward it. It has never navigated the vast dark waters, yet it will journey across thousands of miles, only to return to this very beach to lay its own eggs. The call is in its blood, a map inherited from its ancestors. What they were thinking in that very first moment, as they scrambled toward the roaring unknown, is lost to time. They simply knew. And so, across the planet, the signal is received. In the frozen north, the sun dips lower. In the dry savanna, the grasses turn brown. In the deep ocean, the currents shift their flow. And life answers. It answers with movement. It is a reminder that the greatest journeys often begin with the smallest, quietest feeling, a restlessness, a pull, a deep and undeniable knowing that it is time to go. The V of geese in the sky is now just a smudge on the horizon. Their honking calls are faint, like a memory, but you feel the emptiness they left behind, and you feel the fullness of the path that stretches out before them. They are answering the oldest call there is, the call to move, and as you watch them disappear, you realize your own journey into this story has just begun. You are now high above the earth, floating in the silent, star-dusted darkness of space. Below you, the planet turns, a great blue and white marble spinning in a sea of black. From this height, you see no borders, no cities, just the vast natural canvases of ocean, forest, and desert. And across this globe, you see tiny points of light moving. They are the migrants, following paths invisible to the human eye, guided by the ancient lights of the universe. You descend, gently, through the layers of the atmosphere, until you are level with a small bird flying through the night. This is the indigo bunting, a tiny creature weighing less than a coin. It is flying alone, over a vast black ocean. There are no landmarks, no roads, no signs, yet it flies with a steady, unwavering confidence. It is not looking down at the water. It is looking up. Its eyes are tuned to the stars, reading the patterns of the constellations as they rotate around the North Star. For the bunting, the night sky is a map, and the stars are its fixed points. This is the core piece of knowledge, that the heavens themselves guide the travellers home. But the stars are only one part of the map. As you fly alongside the bunting, you sense another force at work, an invisible power that tugs at the very being of the bird. It is the Earth's magnetic field. Deep within the bunting's eyes, scientists believe there is a special protein that allows it to literally see the magnetic lines of the planet. The world appears to this bird as a landscape of glowing, magnetic contours, like neon lines painted across the earth and sky. It is a perception of reality that we cannot experience, a secret sense given to the travellers. Now, you drift down to the surface of the ocean. Here, the waves roll in a constant rhythmic motion. A sea turtle, a leatherback, swims with powerful, graceful strokes. It has not seen the beach where it was born for 30 years, yet it is returning to it now. It does not use the stars, for it swims deep in the sunlit water during the day. Instead, it listens. It listens to the low-frequency sound of the waves crashing on the distant shore, a sound that travels for hundreds of miles through the water. It also feels the magnetic field of the Earth, using tiny magnetic particles in its brain as a natural compass. It combines these senses to find its way, a navigation system built into its very body. This is the obscure detail. The spiny lobster does not migrate through the air or on land, but along the dark ocean floor. It cannot see the stars or the sun from its murky world. So, on overcast nights, when the moon and stars are hidden, it lines up in long, single-file processions with other lobsters. They march across the seabed, each one touching the one in front with its antennae. They move in this conga line for miles, guided by the Earth's magnetic field and the feel of another lobster ahead, a slow, silent parade in the deep. How do these creatures build such a detailed map inside their minds? How does a salmon, born in a freshwater stream, remember the specific chemical taste of that water after years roaming the vast salty ocean? This is the point of mystery. The memory of home is written in their cells, a sensory imprint that is kept safe across immense distances and long absences. The how of this perfect memory remains one of nature's most beautiful secrets. You rise again, back into the sky, and now you see the sun beginning to rise. The horizon glows with soft shades of orange and pink. For many birds, the sun is their primary guide. They use its position as a compass, adjusting their internal clock to account for its movement across the sky. Imagine having such a deep connection to the sun that you always know your direction, just by feeling its place in the sky. It is a reminder that we, too, are connected to these celestial rhythms, even if we have forgotten how to feel them. As the day brightens, you notice the large, broad wings of albatross soaring over the waves. It barely flaps its wings, instead locking them in place and riding the currents of air rising from the ocean. It uses the power of the wind, an energy given freely by the planet, to travel thousands of miles without growing tired. The journey is not a frantic race, but a patient, graceful dance with the elements. What can we learn from this patience, from this trust in the forces of the world to carry us? Now, you see all the paths at once. You see the star maps of the night birds, the sun compass of the day birds, the magnetic sense of the turtle, the wave following of the seal. You see that the world is crisscrossed with these invisible highways. They are not made of concrete or stone, but of light and magnetism and sound. They are the true roads of the planet, used for millions of years before the first human path was ever walked. You are now back on the ground, looking up at the night sky. The stars seem fixed and constant, but you know now that for countless travellers above you and around you, they are dynamic, turning guideposts. The air you breathe is filled with invisible forces that pull and direct life on its incredible journeys. The world is far more connected, far more guided than it appears. And as you look at the steady North Star, you feel a sense of peace, knowing that in the great dark expanse, every traveller has a light to follow. You now leave the star-filled skies and descend into a world of weightless blue. The light from above fades, becoming a soft, shimmering glow as you sink deeper into the ocean. Here, there is a different kind of silence, a profound quiet, broken only by the low pulse of the water itself. You are not floating aimlessly, you are being carried. You have entered the great ocean rivers, the powerful unseen currents that flow through the deep, directing the lives of countless creatures on their endless journeys. You drift in the warm embrace of the Gulf Stream, a massive river within the sea, warmer than the surrounding water, and moving with a purpose all its own. It carries you along as if you were a leaf on a slow, grand wind. This is the core piece of knowledge. These currents are the planet's circulatory system, moving heat, nutrients, and life across the globe. They are liquid pathways, more constant and powerful than any road on land. All around you, the water is alive with travellers, tiny, transparent creatures no larger than your fingernail, pulse, and drift in the flow. These are plankton, the wandering ones. They cannot swim against the current, they go where it takes them. They are the foundation of the ocean's food web, a vast soupy cloud of life that feeds the entire sea. Their migration is a passive one, a great drifting harvest that moves with the rhythm of the water. It is a reminder that sometimes the most important journeys are not about fighting the flow, but moving with it. Now, you see a school of small silvery fish moving with you in the current. They are not fighting the flow, but using it, conserving their energy as the great river carries them toward richer feeding grounds. They move as one shimmering sheet, a single mind made of 1,000 bodies. This is the obscure detail, the larvae of the European eel. These tiny, leaf-shaped creatures are born in the vast darkness of the Sargasso Sea. Immediately, they are caught by the currents. For years, they drift, helplessly, across the entire Atlantic Ocean, until they finally reach the coastal rivers of Europe. Their entire journey, for the first part of their lives, is a slow, patient ride on a liquid conveyor belt. But how do they know when to stop? How does a young eel, after years of drifting, know to turn into the river mouth that is its new home? This is the point of mystery. The current gives them the journey, but a deep internal map, perhaps a memory of water chemistry or magnetic fields, gives them the destination. What tells them they have arrived is a secret the ocean keeps. You dive deeper, below the warm current, into the cold, dark water. Here, another current flows, a deep river moving in the opposite direction. It is heavy with cold and rich with nutrients from the decomposed life that has sunk from the world above. This deep current is just as vital, feeding the creatures of the abyss and eventually rising in other parts of the world to bring life to the surface. The ocean breathes in this way, a slow, deep inhale and exhale that takes centuries to complete. As you drift, you notice the light has almost vanished. But then, you see sparks. Tiny flashes of green and blue light begin to appear around you. This is bioluminescence, the living light of the deep sea. Creatures here create their own stars in the darkness. For them, the journey is not guided by the sun, but by these cold chemical fires. They use light to find food, to attract mates, and to confuse predators on their vertical migrations through the blackness. It is a journey through a galaxy within our own world. Think of the immense patience of this underwater travel. The journey that takes a land animal days might take an ocean drifter years. Time moves differently here, measured not in heartbeats but in the slow turn of the global conveyor belt. There is no hurry. There is only the constant, steady push of the water, a force that has not stopped for millions of years. Now, you rise again, toward the light. You break the surface and see the Sunday. You see the great whales, their dark backs glistening, riding the same currents you just left. They use these liquid highways too, for their epic voyages from polar feeding grounds to tropical breeding lagoons. The current helps them, just as it helps the smallest plankton. From the greatest to the smallest, all are connected by the flow of water. You float on the surface, feeling the gentle rocking motion of the sea. The push of the current is still there, a soft, persistent force against your skin. You close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of the waves. This is the pulse of the planet, a heartbeat of water that guides, carries, and sustains life on its eternal journey. And as you drift, you feel that same gentle rhythm, a calming, constant motion that invites you to let go and simply be carried. The ocean's rhythm fades behind you, replaced by a new sound, a gentle, rhythmic rustling that grows into a soft symphony. You look up. The sky, which was once an empty blue, is now filled. It is a river of wings, an endless flowing caravan of birds, thousands upon thousands of them, moving as one living cloud. You have joined the winged caravans, the great flocks that trace the ancient flyways of the world, painting the air with purpose and grace. You are standing in a wide coastal marsh. The air is cool and damp, smelling of salt and wet earth. It is a key stop on a highway in the sky, a place of rest and food known as a staging post. Here, the birds gather their strength. You see shorebirds called sandpipers, running along the water's edge on quick, delicate legs. They feed feverishly, building up the energy they will need for the next, most dangerous leg of their journey. This is the core piece of knowledge. Birds do not fly their entire migration in one go. They hop from one safe haven to the next, following a chain of wetlands, forests, and coasts that have supported their kind for millennia. These chains are the flyways, the superhighways of the sky. Now, you look higher. A vast flock of snow geese rises from the marsh, their white wings catching the sun, their united calls creating a cacophony that is both chaotic and beautiful. They form loose, shifting V-shapes, rising on columns of warm air called thermals. They circle higher and higher until they catch a fast-moving river of wind, a jet stream that will carry them south. They are not just flying, they are sailing the sky, using the weather itself to help them on their way. This is the obscure detail, the bar-tailed godwit. This sturdy, long-legged bird makes one of the most incredible non-stop flights on Earth. From its feeding grounds in Alaska, it flies southwest across the entire Pacific Ocean, a journey of over 7,000 miles to reach New Zealand. It does not stop. It does not eat. It does not drink. For 8 days and nights, it flies, its body running on the fat it stored like fuel. How its body can endure this, and how it navigates such a featureless expanse of water, is a testament to the raw power of instinct. Why do they fly in these formations, the V shapes and long lines? It is not just for company. There is a deep wisdom in this shape. Each bird flies slightly above the bird in front of it, letting the flapping wings of the leader create an upward lift for the one behind. It is like riding a wave of air. This allows the whole flock to save energy, taking turns at the exhausting lead position. What they are thinking, as they hold this perfect formation, adjusting to every tiny change in the wind, is a beautiful mystery. They are connected by an invisible thread of shared purpose. You move from the marsh to a great forest. Here, the migration is different. It is not of large honking geese, but of tiny songbirds, warblers, and thrushes that travel by night. They do this to avoid predators like hawks and to use the stars as their guide. During the day, they rest and feed, hidden in the leaves. Their journey is a secret one, a silent movement of millions under the cover of darkness. It is a reminder that the most profound changes often happen when the world is asleep. Think of the small heart of a hummingbird beating hundreds of times a minute as it makes its own incredible journey across the Gulf of Mexico. It is a feat of sheer endurance, a burning of energy so intense it seems impossible for such a tiny creature. Yet, it does it, driven by the same force that moves the great geese. What can we learn from this courage, from this trust in a strength we did not know we had? As night falls, you lie back in a field and look up. You cannot see the small songbirds, but you know they are there. You can feel their passage, a great silent exodus above you. They are following the same paths their ancestors followed, paths that are now threatened by the lights of our cities. A single bright building can confuse thousands, drawing them off course. Their ancient map is being overwritten with our own, a thought that invites a moment of quiet reflection. The moon rises, casting a silver light on the landscape. The river of birds continues, an endless flow of life between the summer and the winter. They are the connection between continents, a living bridge made of feather and bone. Their arrival in a land signals the change of a season, a clock that is always on time. You close your eyes, listening to the last distant calls of the geese fading into the night. The winged caravan moves on, following a map written in the stars and in their blood. And as you drift towards sleep, you can almost feel the gentle beat of 1,000 wings, a soft rhythmic whisper against the vast dark sky, carrying their dreams of warmer shores. The whisper of wings fades, and your feet now stand upon solid earth. But this earth is not still. You feel a deep rhythmic vibration, a tremor that travels up through the soles of your feet and into your bones. It is not an earthquake, it is the beat of 1,000,000 hooves. You have come to the land of the silent walkers, the great herds whose epic treks shape the very continents they cross. You are on a vast sun-baked plain in Africa. The air shimmers with heat, and the dust hangs in a golden haze. Before you, as far as the eye can see, is a river of life, wildebeest. They are moving, a continuous flowing mass of dark brown bodies and curved horns. There is no beginning and no end to this river. They walk with a steady, determined pace, their hooves stirring up the red earth, their grunts and bellows creating a low, constant music. This is the core piece of knowledge. This is the largest overland migration on the planet, a circular journey of nearly 2,000 miles, driven by the search for rain and fresh grass. You walk among them, but they pay you no mind. You are just another moving shape in the great herd. You see their faces, long and serious, with dust clinging to their whiskers. They are not elegant creatures, but they are built for this journey. Their strong legs are made for walking day after day, week after week. They move with a collective mind, a shared intention that every animal understands. When one part of the herd decides to move, the decision ripples through the thousands, and the entire river changes its course. Now, your journey shifts. The sun-baked plains dissolve into a landscape of crisp, cold air and low, tough plants. You are in the Arctic tundra. Here, the silent walkers are caribou. Their migration is different, but just as epic. They travel across an open, treeless world, under a sky that can be brilliantly blue or thick with swirling snow. Their coats are thick and warm, their hooves are wide, acting as snowshoes. They walk in long, winding lines, following paths worn into the permafrost by countless generations before them. This is the obscure detail. These caribou trails are so ancient and so deeply etched that they are visible from space, like faint grey scars on the face of the tundra, a permanent record of passage. The caribou are moving towards their calving grounds, a specific, traditional area where the females will give birth. How do they know this one safe place in 1,000,000 square miles of wilderness? This is the point of mystery. The knowledge is passed down, not taught but inherited. The young caribou simply know the way, following their mothers and aunts on a path that is written in their very being. What they feel, as they walk towards a place they have never been, is a quiet certainty we can only imagine. There are other walkers too. You see the elephants of Africa, moving in wise, matriarch-led families across great distances to find water and fruiting trees. Their migration is slower, more thoughtful. The oldest female remembers waterholes that have not held water for years, and she leads her family away from them toward a distant, remembered promise. Their journey is a walk of memory, a testament to the knowledge held by the elders. It is a reminder of the importance of those who remember the way. Think of the sheer patience of these journeys. There is no rushing. The wildebeest cannot run to the rain, they must walk to it. The caribou cannot fly to the calving grounds. They must trudge through the snow. Their progress is measured in the slow turning of the earth, the gradual change of the light. Each step is small, but together, over days and weeks, they cross mountains and rivers. What can we learn from this patience, from the power of 1,000,000 small steps? The challenges are immense. On the plain, lions wait in the tall grass. In the north, wolves follow the caribou herds. The rivers are filled with waiting crocodiles. The journey is a gauntlet, a test of strength and numbers. Yet, the herds do not stop. They push forward, because to stop is to perish. The migration is their only strategy for survival. It is a dangerous dance with death, performed for the chance of life. As you walk with them, you become part of the rhythm. The sound of breathing, the crunch of hooves on dry grass, the swish of tails. There is a deep peace in this movement, a sense of being part of something much larger than yourself. You are not an individual here. You are a cell in a great walking body. Your purpose is shared. Your direction is certain. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in fiery colours. The herds continue to move, their silhouettes dark against the brilliant horizon. They will walk through the night, guided by the moon and the stars, and by the internal compass that has never failed them. They are the heartbeat of the plains and the tundra, a pulse of life that has been beating for thousands of years. And as you stand there, watching the endless river of life flow past, you feel your own heartbeat slow to match their steady grounding rhythm. As the great herds fade into the distance, the world does not grow still. It simply changes its scale. You must now shrink your perspective, down, down, to the level of a blade of grass. Here, in this miniature kingdom, the migrations are just as epic, undertaken by lives so small we often overlook them. But their journeys are of staggering scale, a reminder that great power and incredible distance are not just for the large and the mighty. You are in a field on a late summer day. The air is warm and thick, a gentle breeze blows, and for a moment the sunlight seems to dance with tiny glittering specks. These are not dust motes. They are aphids, tiny insects, being carried on the wind. They cannot fight the breeze. They surrender to it, allowing it to take them to new plants, new homes. This is the core piece of knowledge. For every massive wildebeest, there are billions of insects on the move, their combined weight and numbers shaping ecosystems around the world. Now, your gaze shifts to a nearby fence post. A butterfly, its wings like stained glass, flutters past. But it is not moving randomly. It is heading south, with a purpose as strong as any goose. This is the monarch. In the autumn, millions of them across North America begin an impossible journey. They are fragile, weighing less than a penny, yet they will travel thousands of miles to a few small specific mountaintops in Mexico where they have never been. They are the third or even fourth generation of the year. They are the great-great-grandchildren of the butterflies who left Mexico the previous spring. This generation, called the Methuselah generation, lives for 8 months instead of a few weeks, just long enough to make this incredible return trip. This is the obscure detail. High in the remote mountains of Mexico, the Oyamel fir trees become heavy, not with snow but with butterflies. The monarchs cluster so thickly on the branches and trunks that the trees appear to be made of orange and black velvet. The weight of so many butterflies can sometimes bend the branches. The air is quiet, the flutter of wings stilled as they conserve energy for the winter. It is one of the most concentrated animal gatherings on the planet, a secret, silent city of insects. How can a creature with such a tiny brain navigate such a vast continent to a place it has never seen? This is the point of mystery. The map is not in their memory, but in their genes. They are born with a direction inscribed in them, a magnetic and solar compass that points them true south. The precise location of the sanctuaries is a secret, passed down through their DNA, a beautiful and unsolved puzzle. Your journey continues to a shimmering lake. Dragonflies dart and hover over the water, but some dragonflies are not staying by this lake. They are embarking on a globe-spanning journey. The globe skimmer dragonfly undertakes a multi-generational migration from India to East Africa and back, a round trip of nearly 11,000 miles, crossing the open ocean. Think of that, a delicate insect, flying over the sea, carried by weather fronts and its own powerful wings. It is a journey that seems to defy all logic, yet it happens every year. Now, you look down at the ground. A line of ants marches purposefully along a scent trail. Their migration is not long distance, but it is a constant, organized movement. They are moving their colony, their eggs, and their larvae from an old nest to a new, safer one. Each ant carries a tiny piece of their world, working together in perfect harmony. It is a reminder that a journey is not always about going far away. Sometimes it is about moving your home, piece by piece, to ensure the future. Consider the humble ladybug. In the autumn, they seek shelter, not individually, but in massive aggregations. They gather in rock crevices, under tree bark, or in the corners of old buildings, piling on top of one another by the thousands to conserve heat and survive the winter. Their migration is a search for shelter, a collective huddling against the cold. What does it feel like to be one small part of that living, breathing blanket? As the sun sets, you notice the moths beginning to stir. They are night migrants, taking over the sky from the day-flying butterflies. They are drawn to the light of the moon, using it to steer a straight course. Our artificial lights confuse them, pulling them from their path like celestial sirens. Their silent, fluttering journey through the dark is a fragile one, a dance with dangers they cannot understand. The world of the small is vast and full of movement. Every breeze carries tiny travellers, every flower might be a destination, and every leaf a resting place. These journeys may be silent to our ears, but they are the constant, humming background of life on Earth. And as you slowly return to your own size, you carry with you the awe of these miniature giants, these small and mighty travellers whose epic voyages unfold beneath our notice every single day. The whisper of insect wings fades into a new, profound silence, a deep, resonant, quiet that is not empty, but full. You have left the sunlit world behind and are now sinking into the cool blue embrace of the open ocean. The light from above fades to a dim greenish glow, and the water pressure is a gentle, constant hug on all sides. Here, in the vast darkness, you are not alone. You have joined the greatest travellers of the deep, the leviathans who swim the blue pathways between the worlds of ice and Sunday. A shadow moves in the deep blue ahead of you. It is immense, larger than any creature you have ever seen. It is a blue whale, the largest animal to have ever lived on our planet. Its heart is the size of a small car, and its call is a deep, low-frequency pulse that can travel for hundreds of miles through the water. You are witnessing the core piece of knowledge of this section. The great whales undertake the longest migrations of any mammal, swimming thousands of miles from nutrient-rich polar feeding grounds to warm, sheltered tropical lagoons to breed and give birth. You swim alongside this gentle giant. Its movement is a slow, powerful grace. Its tail fluke, wider than the wingspan of a small plane, pushes it forward with effortless strokes. It is travelling from the frigid waters of the Arctic or Antarctic, where it has spent the summer feasting on tiny shrimp like krill, toward the equator. It may not eat for months during this journey, living off the immense fat stores it built up. This journey is a fast, a long pilgrimage taken for the future of its species. Now, you hear a new sound. It is not the low pulse of the blue whale, but something more complex, a series of moans, cries, and chirps that weave together into a haunting, beautiful song. You have found a humpback whale. This song is sung by the males, and it can last for hours, repeating patterns that change and evolve over time. It is one of the most complex vocalizations in the animal kingdom. This is the obscure detail. All the male humpbacks in a single population sing the same ever-changing song. If one whale changes a phrase, the others will learn it, and the song gradually transforms throughout the breeding season. A living cultural tradition passed through the water. Why do they sing? This is the point of mystery. Is it to attract a mate? To challenge other males? Or is it perhaps a way of mapping the featureless ocean, a sonic beacon that helps them all navigate the long, dark blue road? The true purpose of the humpback's song remains a captivating secret of the deep, a melody whose meaning we can only feel but not fully understand. Your journey continues. You see a mother grey whale swimming closely with her newborn calf. She is guiding him on his first migration, from the warm nursery lagoons of Mexico to the rich feeding grounds of the Arctic. The calf stays near its mother's side, learning the route, protected by her immense size. The bond between them is visible, a tangible connection in the water. She will nudge him, communicate with soft sounds, and defend him from any threat. It is a reminder that the most important journeys are often taken with another, guided by love and protection. Think of the patience of this travel. The grey whale's round trip is nearly 12,000 miles. They swim at a slow, steady pace, about 5 miles per hour. They do not rush. They simply move, day after day, night after night, through storms and calm seas alike. Theirs is a journey of profound endurance, a testament to a deep, ancient rhythm that cannot be hurried. What can we learn from this pace, from this trust in the slow and steady passage of time? The pathways they follow are not random. They are the great ocean currents, the same liquid highways used by the tiny plankton. The whales swim along the edges of continental shelves, past underwater mountains, and through deep trenches, using the Earth's magnetic field and the taste of the water to navigate. They are walking an ancient submerged road, one they have travelled for millions of years. As you swim with them, you feel the immensity of their world. The ocean is a three-dimensional landscape, with mountains and valleys and plains of water. The whales know this landscape intimately. They dive deep, holding their breath for an hour or more to find food in the dark. Then they return to the surface in a majestic burst of air and spray, their blow a brief testament to a life lived between two worlds. The light is fading now, the last rays of the sun filtering down from a world that seems a lifetime away. The whales continue on their path, their great dark bodies moving like shadows through the twilight blue. They are the silent guardians of the deep, the navigators of the eternal blue. Their journey is a slow, powerful pulse in the heart of the ocean. And as you watch them disappear into the deepening dark, you feel a profound sense of peace, carried away on the rhythm of their timeless underwater road. The great whales fade into the deep blue, their songs becoming a distant rumble in the water. But as you rise toward the surface, you realize the journey is not over. It is everywhere. The very air you breathe, the soil beneath your feet, is alive with movement. You have entered the realm of the unseen currents, where the smallest travellers of all ride the wind and the water on journeys just as remarkable as those of the giants. You are standing in a sunlit meadow on a breezy autumn day. The air is crisp and the light has a golden quality. You see the fluffy white head of a dandelion. A soft gust of wind pulls at it, and dozens of tiny parachutes break free, each carrying a single seed. They rise and dance on the air, spinning and floating away to find a new place to grow. This is the core piece of knowledge. The wind is a river for seeds, spores, and even tiny animals, carrying life across continents and oceans. You watch one of these dandelion seeds drift higher. It is joined by others, the winged seeds of maple trees, spinning like little helicopters, the feathery seeds of thistles, the dust-like spores released from a mushroom hidden in the grass. They are all passengers on the breeze, their journeys silent and invisible to our busy eyes. They have no control over their destination. They surrender to the flow of the air, a reminder that sometimes the most important thing is simply to let go and trust the journey. Now, you notice something even more extraordinary. A tiny silken thread catches the light, and then another, and another. Soon, the air is filled with glistening lines. These are spiderlings, baby spiders, launching themselves into the sky. This is called ballooning. A spider climbs to a high point, stands on its tiptoes, and releases a stream of silk from its body. The silk catches the wind, acting like a kite, and lifts the spider off its feet and into the air. This is the obscure detail. These tiny spiders can be carried for hundreds of miles, even across oceans, landing on remote islands where they begin new lives. They are the pioneers, the explorers of the miniature world, using the sky as their sea. How do they know when the wind is right? How do they choose a moment to let go of everything they know and launch into the unknown? This is the point of mystery. It is not a decision made in thought, but a deep instinct, a feeling in their tiny bodies that the air is ready to carry them. What they feel in that moment of release is a courage we can only wonder at. Your gaze turns downward, to the soil. Here, too, there is constant, slow migration. Earthworms move through the dark earth, aerating it as they go. Nematodes, microscopic worms, travel in the film of water between soil particles. Their journeys are measured in inches, but they are vital, turning the soil into a rich home for plants. It is a reminder that not all journeys are epic voyages. Some are the small daily movements that sustain the world beneath our feet. Think of the pollen from a pine forest, released in such vast yellow clouds that it stains lakes and cars. Each grain is a potential new tree, travelling on the wind to find a place to sprout. Or think of the tiny floating animals in pond water, called zooplankton, that migrate up and down every day, rising to the surface at night to feed and sinking into the darker, safer water during the day. Theirs is a daily vertical journey, a rhythm as regular as the Sunday. Now, a gentle rain begins to fall. Each raindrop hits the soil and splashes upward. In that tiny splash, bacteria and other microorganisms are thrown into the air. They can be carried high into the atmosphere, travelling across countries before falling back to Earth with the next rain. The very air is a soup of life, with countless invisible travellers moving all around us, all the time. What does it mean that we are constantly breathing in this cloud of ancient and future life? As the rain stops, a rainbow appears. The air smells clean and new. You see the glistening spider webs in the grass, beaded with water like tiny jewels. Each one is a testament to a journey taken, a new beginning in a new land. The floating seeds have mostly landed, settling into their new homes, waiting for the right conditions to grow. The wind continues to blow, a constant, gentle force that has shaped the distribution of life on Earth since the beginning. It carries the smell of the sea, the scent of faraway forests, and the invisible passengers of the unseen currents. And as you stand in the meadow, you feel a connection to this subtle, endless movement. You are not just standing on the earth. You are immersed in a river of life, a flow of tiny travellers on their own great adventures, silent, unseen, and all around you. The unseen currents of the air settle, and the floating seeds find their rest. But now, you witness a different kind of journey, one that unfolds not in a single lifetime but across the span of generations. It is a relay race of life, where the starting whistle was blown centuries ago and the finish line is a memory held in the blood. You are now following the cycle of generations, where the complete journey is a story written by multiple authors, each contributing a single chapter. You are in a North American garden in late summer. A monarch butterfly, its wings bright as stained glass, sips nectar from a flower. But this butterfly is different from its parents and grandparents. They lived for only a few weeks, fluttering and mating in the northern summers. This one, born as the days began to shorten, is special. It is the Methuselah generation, and it will live for 8 months. Its purpose is not to reproduce immediately, but to travel. It is the one that must complete the epic return trip to a place it has never been. This is the core piece of knowledge. Some migrations are so long that no single animal completes the round trip. The journey is a shared legacy, passed down like a precious heirloom. You follow this one butterfly as it rises on the breeze. It does not wander. It flies with a determined direction, south-southwest. It is not following a leader, for it is alone in the sky. It is following a map written in its genes, a compass that points toward the high volcanic mountains of central Mexico. It will fly for 2 months, over thousands of miles, navigating by the sun and the Earth's magnetic field. It is driven by an impulse it does not understand, toward a home it has never seen. This is the obscure detail. When this monarch butterfly finally arrives in Mexico, it will seek out a very specific type of tree, the oyamel fir. It will join millions of other monarchs, clustering so densely on the branches that the trees appear to be orange and black. The collective weight of the butterflies can sometimes bend the strong fir branches. They will remain here, in a state of semi-hibernation, through the cool winter months, their vibrant bodies blanketing the forest in a living quilt. How does this generation, the one that has never made the journey, know the exact location of these few remote mountain groves? This is the point of mystery. The knowledge is not learned, but inherited. It is as if a memory of the destination is encoded in their DNA, a ghost map from their ancestors. What it feels like to be drawn so unerringly to a foreign land is a secret the butterflies keep in their delicate beating hearts. Your perspective shifts. You are no longer following one butterfly, but the great river of them flowing across the continent. You see them crossing cities, highways, and vast lakes. They are fragile, but their numbers are great. Their journey is a tapestry woven from countless individual flights, all directed toward the same unseen goal. It is a reminder that we are all part of a larger story, and our own lives are single threads in a grand intergenerational tapestry. Think of the humpback whale, whose song evolves and is learned by others, passed down through the population, or the caribou whose calves learn the migration route by following their elders. These are cultural migrations, taught and learned. But the monarch's journey is different. It is instinctual, a pure, untutored knowledge. It makes you wonder what ancient maps are hidden within us, what instincts lie dormant in our own blood. The monarch's journey is a race against time. It must reach the sanctuary before the cold truly sets in. It must conserve its energy, flying on favourable winds and stopping to sip nectar only when necessary. It is a pilgrimage of survival, where the destination is not just a place, but a chance for the story to continue. When spring arrives, this same generation will mate and begin the journey north, starting the cycle anew, though they themselves will not live to see its end. As you watch the fluttering stream of orange and black, you see more than just insects. You see a living chain, each link a generation, connected across time and space. The journey is the constant, the travellers are temporary. It is a story that began long before any of us were here, and will continue long after. What stories do we carry from our own ancestors? What journeys have they set in motion that we are now completing? The sun is lower in the sky now, and the air carries a chill. The monarch you first followed is still flying, a tiny speck of brilliant colour against the vastness of the landscape. It is a journey begun by a great-grandparent, continued by a grandparent, and now fulfilled by it. It flies on, a vessel of ancient memory, carrying the hopes of its lineage toward the distant, waiting mountains. And as it disappears into the horizon, you feel the profound peace of a story that is never truly over, but simply passed on, like a breath, from one generation to the next. The gentle flutter of monarch wings gives way to a heavier, more urgent atmosphere. The certainty of the journey you have witnessed so far now meets the harsh realities of the world. The path is not a safe paved road. It is a trial, a gauntlet of challenges where every mile is earned and every success is balanced by loss. You now observe the price of the journey, the relentless trials that test the limits of every migrant's strength and will. You are back on the African savannah, walking with the great herd of wildebeest. The air, once filled with the low rumble of their movement, is now pierced by sharp, alert snorts. The herd is approaching a river. The water is brown and fast-moving, swollen from rains far away. This is not just a river, it is a barrier, and it is filled with waiting crocodiles. The wildebeest gather on the bank, their instinct to cross warring with their instinct for self-preservation. This is the core piece of knowledge. The migration is a numbers game. Predators lie in wait at every natural choke point, and loss is a part of the equation. The journey continues not because it is safe, but because it is necessary. You watch as the pressure builds. The animals at the back, driven by fear, push forward. Finally, one wildebeest leaps. It is the signal. Dozens, then hundreds, plunge into the churning water. The scene becomes chaos. Hooves churn the water, bodies jostle, and panicked cries fill the air. The crocodiles, ancient and powerful, strike from the depths. It is a sudden, violent explosion of nature. For every wildebeest that makes it across, another may not. This is the price of water. But the predators in the water are not the only danger. On land, lions and hyenas follow the herds like shadows. They target the young, the old, the sick, and the exhausted. An animal that stumbles, that lags behind, even for a moment, becomes the focus of this relentless pressure. The migration is a filter, removing the weak and ensuring the strength of the herd continues. It is a harsh reality, but one that has shaped these species for millennia. It is a reminder that growth often comes through struggle. Now, your journey takes to the sky. A small songbird, a warbler, is flying over a vast expanse of water. It has been flying for hours, through the night. Its energy is nearly spent. It is looking for a place to land, to rest and find food, but there is only water below. This is the danger of exhaustion. Some birds, pushed off course by storms or simply unable to find rest, fall into the sea. Their small bodies cannot go on. Their journey ends not from a predator's teeth, but from the sheer draining effort of the trip itself. This is the obscure detail. For the tiny hummingbird crossing the Gulf of Mexico, a headwind can be a death sentence. It has stored just enough fat to make the crossing under perfect conditions. But if the winds turn against it, this miraculous traveller can burn through its fuel too quickly and fall into the waves, a tiny engine that has run out of fuel. The sky, for all its freedom, offers no mercy. What goes through the mind of an animal in its final, exhausted moments? This is the point of mystery. Is there a recognition that the journey has failed? Or is there only the deep driving instinct to keep moving until the body can no longer obey? The final thoughts of these travellers are lost to the wind and the water, a silent private end. The challenges are not all living. The weather itself is a formidable foe. You see a flock of geese battling a sudden snow squall. The wind howls, the snow stings their faces, and visibility drops to zero. They must fight to stay together, to stay on course, or risk being scattered and lost. Elsewhere, a drought may mean that a promised oasis, a critical stopping point, is now just dry, cracked earth. The migrant arrives with a body crying out for water, only to find none. The land itself can betray them. Think of the sea turtle hatchlings. Their first frantic scramble to the ocean is a race against a gauntlet of crabs and birds. And if they make it to the water, they are still tiny specks in a world of large fish and dolphins. Theirs is perhaps the most dangerous journey of all, begun at their most vulnerable. What gives them the courage to push forward into such certain danger? Yet, through all of this, the migrations continue, the herds cross the river, most of the birds find the shore. The whales evade the orcas. There is a profound resilience in this movement, a stubborn, beautiful refusal to give in. The price is high, but the promise of the destination, the green pastures, the safe breeding grounds, the warm lagoons, is worth the cost. It is a lesson in perseverance, in moving forward even when the path is hard. As you watch, the last of the wildebeests scramble up the far river bank, shaking the water from their coats. The lions, now full, retreat into the shade. The river flows on, as if nothing happened. The herd reforms and continues its walk, the animals that were lost already a memory. The journey absorbs the price and moves on. And as you observe this endless cycle of struggle and survival, you feel not fear, but a deep respect for the fragile, tenacious thread of life that endures, no matter the cost. The struggles of the journey begin to soften, not because the challenges have ended, but because your perception is widening. You are now pulling back, further and further, until the individual animals become part of a pattern, and the pattern becomes a rhythm. You are feeling the ancient pulse, the deep rhythmic connection between the great migrations and the turning of the earth itself. This is the heartbeat of the planet, a slow, steady drum that has guided life since the beginning. You are floating in space once more, watching the world turn. From here, you see the reason for it all. The planet is tilted on its axis. Because of this tilt, the sunlight falls differently on the Earth throughout the year. As the world orbits the sun, the top half, the northern hemisphere, leans toward the sun, and it is summer. Then, as the journey continues, it leans away, and it is winter. The same happens in the south. This simple celestial dance is the conductor of the great migrations. This is the core piece of knowledge. The movements of life are a direct, beautiful response to the movements of the planet. Now, you watch the seasons paint the continents. A wave of green sweeps up from the equator, following the strengthening sunlight of spring. And right behind this wave of green, like a shadow, comes a wave of life. The birds fly north, following the explosion of insects and the budding of plants. The caribou move toward the tundra as the snow melts, uncovering the tender lichens below. Their journey is a chase, a pursuit of the brief, rich summer that races across the poles. They are running toward the Sunday. You descend to a temperate forest. Here, the rhythm is visible in the leaves. In spring, the leaves are a bright, fresh green. In summer, they are a deep, dark green. In autumn, they blaze with colour before falling to the ground. And in winter, the branches are bare and silent. The animals here have their own rhythms in response. The squirrel gathers nuts in the autumn, a migration of food into a central home. The bear eats heavily in the fall, and then sleeps through the winter, a migration into the world of dreams. Their journey is inward and down, instead of outward and far. This is the obscure detail. The ptarmigan, a bird of the far north, does not fly south for the winter. Instead, it undergoes its own transformation. Its feathers, which are mottled brown in the summer, molt and are replaced by pure white feathers in the winter. This makes it invisible against the snow. Its migration is not a journey across space, but a change of its very being to match the changing space it is in. It is a reminder that adaptation is itself a form of travel. How did the first life forms learn to listen to this pulse? This is the point of mystery. Was it trial and error over millions of years? Or was the rhythm of the planet written into the first living cell, a fundamental connection between life and its home? The origin of this deep, silent conversation between the earth and its creatures is a wonder that stretches back to the dawn of time. Now, your focus shifts. You see the human animal, also a part of this rhythm. For most of our history, we were migratory too. Early human tribes were nomadic, following the herds of animals they hunted or moving to where the plants were in season. They moved with the rain, with the fruiting of the trees, with the movement of the game. Their lives were dictated by the same ancient pulse that guided the caribou and the whale. We have largely left this life, but the rhythm is still inside us. We feel a restlessness in the spring, a desire to nest in the autumn. These are faint echoes of our migratory past. Think of the salmon, swimming upstream. Its journey is driven by the rhythm of its life cycle, which is itself tied to the seasons. It is born in fresh water, migrates to the salt water to grow, and then returns to the fresh water to spawn and die. Its life is a perfect circle, a loop completed in time with the planet's turn. It is a reminder that all life, including our own, is part of a cycle, a circle with no true beginning and no true end. As you watch, the year turns. The summer greens of the north give way to the brilliant golds and reds of autumn. And as the light fades and the cold returns, the great wave reverses. The birds flow south. The whales swim toward the equator. The cycle completes itself, only to begin again. It is a promise. The world will turn, the seasons will change, and life will move in answer. You are back in your own room, but the feeling of the pulse remains. You can feel it in your own breath, in the beat of your own heart. The great migrations are not just something that happen in the world. They are a fundamental expression of the world. They are the living, breathing evidence of the ancient, endless rhythm of our planet. And as you listen to this quiet, steady pulse, you feel your own body slowing, your own breath deepening to match the calm, eternal heartbeat of the earth. The pulse of the natural world is a rhythm you have felt in the wings of birds and the steps of caribou. But now, you become aware of another migration, one that is both the same and profoundly different. You are tracing the parallel paths of early human pilgrimage, a journey out of ancestral lands that would eventually populate an entire world. This story is not written in hoofprints or wing beats, but in the subtle traces of campfires, stone tools, and a restlessness that would define a species. You are standing on a vast, grassy plain in Africa, under a brilliant, burning Sunday. This is the cradle, the birthplace of humanity. A small group of people move slowly across the landscape. They are not like the wildebeest, driven by immediate hunger for grass. They are thinkers, planners, toolmakers. They follow the herds, yes, but they also watch the stars, remember the locations of waterholes, and tell stories of distant lands heard from other groups. This is the core piece of knowledge. The human migration was a slow, deliberate expansion over tens of thousands of years, driven by curiosity, climate change, and the search for new resources. You walk with this group. They are Homo sapiens, modern humans. Their bodies are built for endurance, for walking long distances under the Sunday. They carry their world with them, simple stone tools, bundles of gathered seeds, and animal skins for warmth. Their children walk alongside them, learning the way. Their journey is not a single desperate flight, but a generational creep, a slow filling of empty spaces on the map. It is a reminder that the biggest changes often happen not in a rush, but with the patience of a glacier. Now, you see them reach a boundary they have never crossed, a coastline. Before them stretches the Red Sea, its blue waters a barrier and a promise. But during the Ice Ages, sea levels were much lower. What is now water was then exposed land, creating a bridge. They walk across, leaving Africa behind and stepping into the vastness of Asia. This is the obscure detail. One of the earliest routes out of Africa was not a land bridge but a southern crossing at the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, where the sea was so narrow and dotted with islands that early humans might have used simple rafts to cross, venturing onto the water in a way no other primate had before. Why did they leave? What compelled them to cross that water, to walk into the unknown deserts and mountains of Arabia? This is the point of mystery. Was it a changing climate that dried up their familiar lands? Was it a population growth that pushed them to seek new hunting grounds? Or was it something deeper, a spark of curiosity, a desire to see what was over the next hill? The true reason for that first fateful step is a secret buried in the sands of time. Your journey with them continues, splitting into streams. One group follows the coastlines, living on the rich resources of the shore, their journey marked by shell middens that still remain today. Another group turns inland, into the heart of Asia, learning to survive in harsh, cold environments they had never known. They adapt. They invent new tools, new clothing, new ways of living. Their migration is a story of constant innovation, a testament to the human ability to learn and change. Think of the courage it took to enter Europe, a land already occupied by another species of human, the Neanderthals. What did they think when they first encountered these other robust people? There was no map, no guidebook. Every encounter, every new valley, was a step into the complete unknown. It is a reminder that every new beginning requires a letting go of the familiar. Another group moves east, across the vastness of Asia, until they stand on the easternmost edge of the continent, looking out at the Bering Sea. During the last ice age, so much water was locked in glaciers that a wide land bridge, Beringia, connected Asia and North America. They did not know they were discovering a new world. They were simply following the game, moving as their ancestors had for generations, stepping from one continent to another without even knowing it. You see them spread down through the Americas, a great wave moving south, reaching the tip of South America in just a few thousand years. They adapted to every environment, from the frozen Arctic to the steaming tropics. Their journey created the incredible tapestry of human cultures that would later emerge across the globe. All of this diversity sprang from that single small group that walked out of Africa. As you watch this great human dispersal, you see that it was not one migration, but many. It was a web of journeys, of meetings and partings, of stories shared and lost. It was a pilgrimage that took thousands of generations, a slow, steady breath of humanity filling the world. And now, as you look around your own room, you realize you are a product of this great journey. Every person, in every country, is a descendant of these ancient travelers. The same restlessness that pushed them across rivers and over mountains lives on in us, in our desire to explore, to learn, and to connect. The human pilgrimage never truly ended. It simply changed its form. And as you settle into rest, you can feel the echo of those ancient steps, a slow, steady rhythm that is part of you and part of us all. The story of early human wandering settles like dust on an ancient trail. Now, your focus turns inward, to the most intimate mystery of the great journeys. How do they know? Without a map, without a compass, how does a creature find its way across a trackless ocean or a featureless desert? You are now contemplating the navigator's secrets, the hidden senses and internal maps that guide the travellers with such unerring precision. You are floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The water is a deep, endless blue in every direction. The sky is a huge, empty dome. There are no landmarks, no signs. Yet, a female green sea turtle swims past you. She is an adult, and she has not seen the beach where she was born for 30 years. But she is returning to it now, to lay her own eggs. She does not hesitate. She swims with a steady, confident purpose. This is the core piece of knowledge. Animals carry maps within them. These maps are built from many senses we do not possess, creating a picture of the world we cannot see. The turtle is using the sun as a compass. Her body has an internal clock that tracks the time of day. By sensing the position of the sun in the sky, she can determine her direction. But the sun moves, so her internal clock must adjust the reading, constantly correcting her course. It is a complex, living calculation happening inside her, without a single conscious thought. She is a living sundial, reading the time and the space of her world. But what happens on a cloudy day, or at night? This is where another sense comes into play. The Earth is a giant magnet, with magnetic fields flowing from the poles to the equator. The turtle can sense these fields. Scientists believe that tiny particles of magnetic iron in her brain act like a compass needle, telling her if she is swimming north, south, east, or west. Even more amazing, she may be able to sense the subtle changes in the angle of the magnetic field, which changes with latitude. This gives her a kind of internal GPS, a built-in sense of where she is on the planet. It is a perception of the world that is completely beyond our own. This is the obscure detail. The Greenland shark, a slow-moving giant of the deep, cold Arctic waters, undertakes a vertical migration that is also a long-distance journey. It dives to depths of over 2,000 feet during the day and rises to shallower waters at night following its prey. But it also makes a seasonal horizontal migration, moving to deeper, more secluded waters to give birth. How it navigates the dark, featureless depths remains a puzzle, but it is likely using a combination of the Earth's magnetic field and sensitivity to the faint electrical signals of other creatures. How is this detailed map created in the first place? How does a young salmon, leaving its home stream for the ocean, imprint the unique chemical signature of that water into its memory? This is the point of mystery. The water carries a scent, a mix of minerals and organic matter from the surrounding rocks and soil. The salmon learns this scent as a smolt, and years later, that memory guides it home. The how of this perfect, long-term memory is one of nature's most exquisite secrets. Now, you rise into the air with a flock of homing pigeons. These birds are masters of navigation. They use the sun, the stars, and the Earth's magnetic field. But they also use smell. They create an olfactory map in their minds, learning how different winds carry different smells from various locations. They can also see polarized light, which helps them locate the sun even on slightly overcast days. They combine all this information into a single clear direction. It is a reminder that truth is often found by combining many different perspectives. Think of the bar-tailed godwit flying over the empty ocean for days. It cannot see the magnetic field or smell the land. It must trust its internal sense of direction completely. It must have a profound faith in the map inside its head. What does that feel like? To be alone in a vast blue emptiness, with nothing but a deep internal knowing to guide you. It is a thought that invites a moment of quiet wonder. Some animals use sound to navigate. Whales send out low-frequency calls that can travel for hundreds of miles. They listen for the echoes bouncing off underwater mountains and continental shelves, building a sonic picture of the ocean floor. Bats do the same in the air, using high-pitched clicks to create a sound-based map of their world in the dark. Their reality is built from echoes, a world perceived through rebounding waves of sound. As you ponder these hidden senses, the world seems to become a richer, more layered place. The air is not empty. It is filled with magnetic lines and polarized light. The water is not featureless. It is a soup of chemical signatures and sonic landscapes. The migrants are not guessing. They are reading a world alive with information that is invisible to us. The turtle continues her swim, unwavering. The pigeon flies on, its path straight and true. They are connected to the planet in a way we can only try to understand. They feel the pull of the magnetic poles, the arc of the sun, the turn of the stars. They are living instruments, finely tuned to the rhythms of the earth. And as you consider these navigators' secrets, you feel a sense of deep peace, knowing that in the great, wide world, every traveller is guided by a wisdom older than time, a silent, sure hand that always points the way home. The long, uncertain road of the journey, with all its perils and mysteries, now reaches its climax. The struggle of travel gives way to a single, transformative moment. You are about to experience the arrival, the profound instant when the destination is finally reached and the great purpose of the migration is fulfilled. It is a time of refuge, plenty, and renewal. You are with the wildebeest herd once more. For weeks, they have trudged across dusty, sun-scorched plains. Their bodies are thin, their energy low. Then, one morning, the wind shifts. It carries a new scent, a smell of damp earth and lush green grass. A ripple of excitement passes through the herd. The animals at the front lift their heads, their pace quickening from a tired walk to a steady, hopeful trot. They crest a low hill, and there it is. A vast green valley stretches out before them, its grasses tall and shimmering with morning dew. This is the core piece of knowledge. The arrival is not just an end to the journey, but a reward for its hardships. It is the promise of survival made real. The herd surges forward. The sound changes from the dull thud of tired hooves to the lively rustle of animals pushing through thick grass. They lower their heads and begin to feed, not with desperation, but with a deep, focused contentment. The young calves, who endured the journey on their wobbly legs, now have a safe place to grow strong. The air is filled with the sounds of tearing grass and soft grunts of satisfaction. The tension of the river crossings and the fear of predators melts away, replaced by the simple, vital act of nourishing themselves. Now, you travel to a remote high mountain forest in Mexico. The air is cool and thin. The monarch butterflies have arrived. After their incredible multi-generational journey, they settle on the branches of the oyamel fir trees. Their long flight is over. Their vibrant orange and black wings fold closed. They enter a state of rest, a semi-hibernation where their metabolisms slow down to conserve energy through the winter. The forest, which was quiet before, is now adorned with their living beauty. The arrival for them is not about feasting, but about stillness and survival, a collective waiting for the warmth that will signal their next journey. This is the obscure detail. When salmon finally fight their way upstream, against the current, leaping waterfalls and avoiding bears, they arrive at the very gravel bed where they were born. Their bodies are battered and spent. They have not eaten for their entire journey upriver, living only on their stored fat. Upon arrival, the female uses her tail to create a nest in the gravel, called a red, where she lays her eggs. The male fertilizes them. Then, their life's purpose complete, their bodies shut down. Their arrival is both a beginning and an end, a final, graceful act that ensures the next generation. What does it feel like in that final moment when the destination is finally reached? This is the point of mystery. Is there a surge of recognition in the salmon's mind as it reaches its birthplace? Does the weary Arctic tern feel a sense of profound relief as its feet touch the familiar ground of Antarctica? We can see the behavior, but the inner experience of arrival, the quiet satisfaction of a goal achieved after immense struggle, is a private feeling we can only imagine. For the birds reaching their wintering grounds, the arrival means a different kind of life. The frantic energy of breeding and nesting is replaced by the daily routines of feeding and resting. The dawn chorus in a tropical forest swells with new voices, migrants who have joined the resident birds. They have found a temporary home, a place to wait out the winter in relative safety and abundance. It is a reminder that there are times in life for great effort and times for quiet restoration. Think of the humpback whale arriving in the warm, shallow lagoons. Here, the water is calm and protected, the adults mate, and the pregnant females give birth to their calves. The warm water is safer for the newborns, who lack the thick blubber to survive in the frigid polar seas. The arrival for them is a nursery, a gentle, sun-drenched sanctuary where the next generation can take its first breaths and gain its first strength. The adults, often exhausted from their long journey and the effort of breeding, rest. Their majestic breeches and tail slaps seem to be expressions of release, a celebration of having reached this safe harbour. As you witness these arrivals, you feel a universal sense of relief. The constant motion ceases. The searching ends. The animal, whether it is a wildebeest, a butterfly, or a whale, is finally where it is meant to be. Its entire being, every instinct, has been directed toward this single point on the globe. And now, it has arrived. The sun sets over the wildebeest's green valley, painting the sky in peaceful shades of purple and gold. The animals are calm, their bellies full, their bodies safe for a time. In the Mexican forest, the butterflies cling to the branches, motionless in the cool night air. In the tropical lagoon, a whale calf nuzzles its mother, learning the feel of its new home. The great, relentless push of the journey is over. It is a time of stillness, a time of peace, a deep and well-earned rest. And as you feel this collective sigh of arrival, you feel your own body relaxing, settling into a state of calm, as if you too have finally reached a safe harbour after a long day. The deep peace of arrival begins to stir. The rest is not permanent. It is a gathering of strength. For the great cycle is not a line with a beginning and an end, but a circle. And now you feel the pull of the starting point, the irresistible call to complete the circle. You are joining the rhythm of return, the journey home, guided by the same deep-seated need that began the great cycle. You are in the warm, sheltered lagoon. The humpback whale calf has grown stronger, nourished by its mother's rich milk. But the water is growing warmer as the seasons turn. The adult whales become restless. The time for breeding is over. The time for feeding is near. The same instinct that drove them south now pulls them north, back toward the cold, nutrient-rich waters of the poles. The mother and her calf begin to swim, leaving the safety of the lagoon for the open ocean. This is the core piece of knowledge. The return journey is often different from the outgoing one. It follows a separate path, a different current, driven by a new urgency, the need to feed and rebuild the energy spent on breeding and birth. You follow them. The calf swims close to its mother, learning the return route that it will someday travel on its own. The journey north is slower, more patient. The mother must ensure her calf is strong enough for the colder waters and the long swim ahead. They do not race. They move with a steady, purposeful grace, a family unit travelling together toward plenty. It is a reminder that the journey home is often taken with those we love, a shared path toward a common future. Now, your gaze turns to the sky. The monarch butterflies in their Mexican mountain sanctuary begin to stir as the days lengthen. The warmth coaxes them from their rest. They take flight, not as a massive united cloud, but in smaller groups. They are the same individuals that arrived, but their purpose has transformed. They are now the founders of the northward generation. They will fly part of the way north, mate, lay their eggs on milkweed plants, and then their own life's journey will end. Their children will continue the journey, and their grandchildren after them. The return is a relay, a passing of the torch back to the summer homes. This is the obscure detail. The northern elephant seal makes not one, but 2 monumental migrations each year. After the breeding season on the beaches, the males and females leave at different times and travel to separate feeding grounds in the open ocean, travelling thousands of miles alone. They spend months feeding and building up energy, and then they make a precise return migration, not to the breeding beach, but to a specific molting site where they will shed their old skin and fur before returning to the breeding grounds later. Their year is a constant, precise cycle of coming and going. Why do some animals take a different path home? This is the point of mystery. For the whale, it might be to access more favourable currents or to avoid predators gathered on the outgoing route. For a bird, it might be to take advantage of seasonal winds or different food sources available on a parallel flyway. The choice of the return route is a complex calculation of safety, energy, and timing, a wisdom written into their instincts that we are only beginning to decode. Think of the Pacific salmon. Their return journey is the final, heroic act of their lives. They do not return to the ocean, they return to their birth river, and then to their death. Their journey home is one of complete and total sacrifice, ensuring their offspring begin their lives in the very same place they did. It is the ultimate expression of the cycle, a profound gift to the future. Your journey continues with the Arctic tern. It has spent the Antarctic summer in the south. Now, as the southern days grow shorter, it feels the pull of the north. It launches into the air for the second half of its incredible yearly journey, flying from one end of the earth to the other, again. Its life is a perpetual pursuit of summer, an endless rhythm of arrival and departure. What does it feel like to be a creature of 2 poles, forever in motion between them? It is a thought that inspires both awe and a quiet humility. As spring returns to the northern continents, the flow of life reverses. The birds that filled the southern skies with their songs now wing their way north. The waves of warblers, thrushes, and flycatchers return, painting the bare branches with life and sound. Their arrival in the north signals the rebirth of the land, a direct result of their successful return journey. The circle is closed, and a new one begins. The mother whale and her calf finally reach the cool green waters of the north. The calf experiences for the first time the abundance of krill, the reason for this long journey. The mother feeds heavily, restoring her massive body. They have returned to the source, the place that will sustain them until the cycle calls them south once more. The rhythm of return is a promise kept. It is the fulfillment of a contract written in the stars and the seasons. The animal answered the call to leave, and now it answers the call to return. There is a deep, satisfying completeness to this motion, a sense that everything is in its right place. And as you feel this rhythm, this gentle, inevitable pull toward home, you feel your own mind turning inward, toward its own place of rest and peace, completing its own gentle cycle for the night. You have followed the circle to its end, only to find it is a beginning. The return leads not to a final stop, but back to the starting point of a new cycle. The Great Migrations are not a series of separate trips. They are a single, continuous breathing process, the eternal cycle. It is the enduring heartbeat of the living planet, a promise of return that has been kept for millions of years. You are now witnessing this truth not as a single event, but as the very rhythm of life itself. You float once more above the earth, watching the turning globe. From this vantage you see it all at once. You see the swirling green waves of the plankton in the sea, rising and falling with the sunday. You see the silver ribbons of fish schools moving through the blue. You see the dark rivers of wildebeest flowing across the plains of Africa. You see the delicate orange thread of monarchs stretching between continents. You see the determined lines of caribou etched into the tundra. You see the great dark shapes of whales moving along their deep blue roads. This is the core piece of knowledge. Migration is the planet's way of breathing. The land inhales life in the spring and summer, and exhales it in the autumn and winter. It is a single, living system, and every traveller is a vital cell in its immense planetary body. The journeys are all connected. The wildebeest eat the grass, their droppings fertilise the soil for new grass, and their movement shapes the landscape for other creatures. The whales feeding in the north stir up nutrients that feed the plankton, which in turn feed the fish. The birds carry seeds in their guts and on their feathers, planting new forests as they travel. The salmon's bodies, after they spawn and die, decay and release precious nutrients into the river, feeding the very ecosystem that will support their young. No migration is an isolated event. Each one is a thread in a vast interconnected web, a tapestry of movement that sustains the entire earth. This is the obscure detail. Every day, with a rhythm as reliable as the tides, trillions of tiny sea creatures, like zooplankton and small squid, undertake the largest migration on Earth. As the sun sets, they rise from the deep, dark waters to the surface to feed under the cover of darkness. As the sun rises, they descend back into the safety of the deep, dark water. This daily vertical journey happens in every ocean, moving more life through the water than any other migration on the planet. It is the constant, pulsing heartbeat of the sea. How does this perfect, planet-wide rhythm maintain its balance? How does the system know how many whales the ocean can support, or how many caribou the tundra can feed? This is the point of mystery. It is a self-regulating dance, a deep wisdom in the way of things that adjust to change, that recovers from loss, that finds a way to continue. The precise balance of this eternal cycle is a delicate and beautiful wonder. Think of the ancient, slow migrations of the first humans, walking out to populate the world. Their story is part of this cycle too. Our own history is a story of movement, of seeking new horizons. That same restlessness is in us still, a quiet echo of the great migrations in our own souls. We may have built settled lives, but we are still children of this migratory planet. As you watch, the cycles continue, overlapping and intertwining, the daily pulse of the plankton, the yearly journey of the birds, the multi-year voyage of the eel, the lifetime pilgrimage of the whale. They are all different notes in the same endless song. The planet turns, the seasons change, and life moves in answer. It is a promise that has never been broken. The great migrations are the story of life's resilience, its patience, and its deep, abiding connection to home. They are a testament to the fact that we are all part of something much larger than ourselves. We are all passengers on this spinning planet, all bound by the same ancient rhythms of departure and return, of struggle and rest, of the endless eternal cycle. And now, as this documentary ends, the images begin to soften and slow. The great herds become a gentle, flowing blur. The flocks of birds melt into the colours of the sunset. The whales become shadows in a deep blue dream. The world outside is quiet. You have been a witness to one of the greatest stories ever told, the story of movement, the story of home. And so, the great cycle continues without end, a silent, steady rhythm beneath the noise of our days. But here, in the quiet of your room, the journey is complete. The relentless movement of the world outside can now fade away, for you have travelled far tonight, across continents and oceans, through time and mystery. You have walked with herds and flown with birds, and now your own journey leads you to a different, but just as important, destination, the land of rest. Let the images you have seen tonight drift through your mind like soft clouds. Picture the gentle rocking motion of the ocean current, carrying its invisible passengers. Hear the distant, fading call of a goose, a soothing sound that blends into the night. Feel the profound peace of the butterfly forest, where millions of wings are still resting in the cool mountain air. These are the rhythms of the planet, and they are slow, and they are calm, and they are deep. Your breathing begins to slow to match the patient pace of the walking caribou. Your heartbeat steadies like the reliable pulse of the Earth's magnetic field, always there, always guiding. The worries of the day, the lists of things to do, they are like scattered leaves on a migratory wind. Let them blow away, far out over a vast and peaceful sea. They have no place here, in this moment of stillness. You are safe. You are still. The world turns, and its great breathing migrations continue, but your part for now is to rest. Allow the sense of wonder to settle over you like a warm, gentle blanket. There is nothing more you need to do. There is nowhere else you need to be. Simply be here, in the comfort of your own peace, supported by the knowledge that you, too, are part of this beautiful, eternal cycle. The night holds you gently, the world dreams on, and you can let go now and drift into a deep and peaceful and well-deserved sleep.